Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the most electrifying podcast in all of internet radio today. You are listening to the Sports Wire. My name is Vinny Epsella, and I am back now after a week's vacation for Thanksgiving and Black Friday and everything else that's involved with it. I want to thank you all for listening and downloading and subscribing to the Sports Wire podcast everywhere that you find your favorite podcasts, be it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, etc., etc., etc. Anyways, what a long week it's been. Hopefully everybody had a very happy and safe Thanksgiving, filled up on your turkey and all the trimmings, and enjoyed some great wrestling. We had NXT TakeOver last week. We had WWE Survivor Series last week. We had a great night of Monday Night Raw. We had a great night of Friday Night SmackDown. Great night of NXT on Wednesday. And then also, I don't know, I haven't been able to watch AEW because it hasn't been uploaded to On Demand yet. So if I get a chance to watch it, I'll let you know. But anyways, a lot of wrestling is there. If you're a fan of football, some great football as well. So I want to just start out with a bang and say, first off, we got to talk about something, okay? Starting on, I believe it was Sunday, the rumors and the innuendo started coming through the Grillavine about the problems or perceived heat between Corey Graves and Mauro Renallo. During NXT TakeOver, Corey Graves, being a heel commentator, being his sarcastic and critical self, made some choice comments about Mauro's style of commentating, which, is true, in some aspects. He did, because Mauro is, sometimes I like his style. It's over the top. It kind of gets the energy flowing for the people that are watching at home, if the crowd is not necessarily into a specific match or what have you. And, sometimes he tends to overshadow his broadcast partners. So during one of Corey's tweets, he said, there is a WWE Hall of Famer and a former Ring of Honor champion on commentary as well, though you'd never know it. I'm sure they have something to add to it, which of course I'm paraphrasing. And then another one was Corey Graves was responding to somebody else who said, "Is that another 80s hip hop reference or 80s rap reference or 90s rap reference or whatever it was?" And Corey Graves said, "Yep, too many of them." There have been issues in the past with Mauro, of course, being that he suffers from manic depressive, bipolar, whatever the case is. And it was a big thing a few years ago because he originally had left WWE because he was getting too emotional, too overwhelmed. And a lot of people had contributed it to supposed bullying or hazing or just the heel commentary of JBL. John Bradshaw Layfield. And now with Corey Graves, Mauro Renallo deactivated his Twitter. He didn't show up to work for Survivor Series, in which Michael Cole sat in on the NXT title match and said that Mauro Renallo blew out his voice. And then he also didn't show up for this Wednesday's NXT show. So here's the thing. Okay, while I'm not going to necessarily put somebody down for a mental health issue, okay, Corey Graves also on After the Bell podcast, the official WWE podcast, he did apologize and say that it was never meant to, really criticize somebody. He was, playing a part, and he would never actually, say anything derogatory or negative about a colleague, whatever, which is true, and he provided healthy criticism. Mauro Renallo, on the other hand, is a little overly sensitive. And I'm sorry, but if you're too oversensitive, either A, just stay the hell off of social media, And that's basically it. And a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, well, you can't tell somebody to stay off of it because everybody has the right to do it." You're right. Everybody has the right to be on social media, to keep in contact with their friends or keep in contact with, whatever, or their fans or whatever. But if you can't handle A, ribs, or B, constructive criticism, or C, just somebody being in character, well, then you have no business being either on social media or being in that kind of environment for your job. You know, um, I'm sorry, but that's how I see it. And it's not about not, I don't feel like a, I don't feel like we have to be walking on eggshells all the time because of this culture where everybody's so sensitive nowadays. I'm sorry, but you should be able to speak your mind without somebody being offended by something. You know, and Paige, WWE superstar Paige, put out a tweet with a like a GIF or a video, showing posting social media or talking in 2019 while trying not to offend anybody, and it's Mario trying to get through a level with all these lasers just from every which way going after him, and it's the truth. Jim Cornette offends people because he uses a 30-year-old joke that had nothing to do with racism, yet people say it's racist. Corey Graves makes, some jokes about Mauro Renallo's commentary styles, and people are out to cancel Corey Graves and get him fired because of the, BS, okay? And then there was, there were a couple other things, like just absolute ridiculousness. There was something, and everybody's on this cancel culture nowadays. It's like if somebody doesn't do something the way you want them to do it, or doesn't do something that's quote unquote politically correct, oh, they should be fired and lose their job. Okay? And that's one of the reasons why I don't watch NWA anymore, is because, now granted, Jim Cornette did, resign, okay? But see, here's the thing. All right, they still took the side of the whining and crying babies out there. Oh, because Jim Cornette said, a joke, about Trevor Murdoch saying he's tough enough to jump on a moped and strap a bucket of fried chicken to his back and drive through Ethiopia. Number one, here's the deal, okay? That had nothing to do with race, because fried chicken is more synonymous, stereotypically, with Southern United States, Southern United States black people, African Americans, okay? Not people in Ethiopia. I can guarantee you they probably don't have a KFC or a Popeyes in Ethiopia. Okay, so they just want food. They're starving, which again, maybe it's in poor taste to make fun of people who are starving. I get it, but South Park does it all the time. South Park is one of those un-PC shows. So why is it that wrestling has to be different? Why is it that South Park is okay, and it's especially with these liberal Democrats? And that was one thing that I laughed about, was that it's the same type of people that Jim Cornette advocates for, the progressive liberal Democrats that are all about PC and you can't say that, you can't say this, and they're the ones that got him let go, that caused him to resign from the NWA because they put up a stink. So I just found that really funny and ironic. And it's because of the, buckling under pressure that the NWA did, Dave Lagana, did, and edited out the joke because of, some people who were whining and crying and the little babies out there. I refuse to watch the NWA anymore and give them my support. I know I'm one person, but you know what? And it's not even that Jim Cornette is bigger than the NWA. And even Jim Cornette came out and said, don't stop watching it on account of me not being there. But see, here's the thing, okay? It's called standing up against the babies and the whiners and the criers, okay? And that's it. You see this cancel culture all the time. It's happening with our president. The Democrats were so upset that they lost the election in 2016. They're so upset because President Trump has fixed so many of the garbage mistakes that Obama did. And he's doing things that are doing great things for our country. And now they're putting him through an impeachment. And taking time away from doing what needs to be done for our country, and they're putting it into this impeachment. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So it's really, really hard, really tiring in this cancel culture environment. It's like, okay, here's the deal. Okay? I don't like the fact that Brock Lesnar takes the WWE Championship, okay, and goes off for months on end. Okay, now he's not due back to the WWE now until January for the Royal Rumble, which, okay, it's only a month. That's fine. He gets a month break. But, the rules are, for the most part, and have always been, you have to defend your championship every 30 days or you forfeit it. And that has been waived for the most part for Brock Lesnar, who at times has been off WWE TV for 4 or 5 months while holding a world title, whether it be the world title or the Universal title. But that doesn't mean I'm going to start a petition to have him fired from the WWE. You know what I mean? It's part of its contract. I don't like Oprah. Okay, I don't like anybody in CNN. But does that mean we have to get CNN thrown off the air? No. I mean, because they want to be the Clinton News Network and the producers of fake news all over the place, let them be. Many people derive their news, the fake news, of course, from CNN. It's this cancel culture that we live in nowadays. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. People are calling for Cody Graves to be fired. People are calling for JBL to be fired a couple years ago because of the garbage with Mauro Renallo. It's like, give me a break. Okay, Mauro Renallo is he's a great commentator. I enjoy hearing him on the NXT broadcasts. But he needs to get thicker skin. I'm sorry, but I do not empathize or sympathize anybody who, here's the deal. When I grew up, okay, I was bullied a lot in school. Name calling, this and that and the other thing. But you know what? It made me stronger. It made my skin thicker because you live by the mantra and you're taught it from a young age. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And I know in this society nowadays, people are afraid of words. Okay, and there are some things, there's a lot of things that should not be said, and I'll be honest, I'll be honest with you about that. There's a lot of stuff that shouldn't be said. There's a lot of bullying that goes around. And I'm not talking about WWE. Okay, I'm not, but here's the deal. Okay, when it comes to wrestling, you cannot you cannot be mad at a heel, for putting down a babyface. You just can't, because that's his job. His job is to make you hate him. And that's the problem with society nowadays. Jim Cornette's a heel commentator. Corey Graves is a heel commentator. And they decide to keep their gimmick up on the outside rather than the rest of these guys who don't want to be hated. Look at MJF. He's a heel through and through. And he keeps his gimmick on 100% of the time. But there are a lot of them, like, Alexa Bliss, would you portraying a heel? Now she's a babyface, but when she was a heel, okay, the fact that she took in I think he's a deaf pig, okay, named it Larry Steve, and posted all these pictures on Instagram, and this and that and the other thing, and it's like, I replied to one of her tweets and said, it is so hard to not like you when you're such a beautiful woman inside and out, with a beautiful soul. I want to hate the heels. Social media ruined professional wrestling. Back in back in the early '90s, when you had Hulk Hogan get squashed by Earthquake. I think that was if I'm not mistaken, on the Brother Love show. Okay, and and Hogan's ribs were hurt. I mean, in storyline, of course. But there was no social media for Earthquake to come out and say, yeah, Hogan and I are best friends. I'll be back in just a second, right after this. All right, folks, I am back. Sorry about that. As you know, I usually record at work. The other phone was ringing. But like I was saying, social media has killed the professional wrestling industry. You see a guy like Braun Strowman when he was portrays a heel, and again, it's showing behind the scenes pictures, him and Roman Reigns hanging out together in Rome, and they're supposed to be in a feud. And I'm not saying that professional wrestling shouldn't evolve like the rest, and even still, it's like, we know that they're actors, portraying a character. You watch, like I watch General Hospital, and I know a lot of the guys are friends behind the scenes. Steve Burton is not really a mob hitman, like his alter ego, Jason Morgan. It's like, but yet wrestling is held, for some reason, and I don't know why it is, but wrestling is held to a higher standard than everywhere else. Like, and I understand people who say, oh yeah, it's a performance art, which I get it. Yes, it is. Like Jordan Grace, who her Twitter is her real name, Trisha Parker or whatever. And, but she portrays Jordan Grace, as a wrestling, in wrestling events, wrestling shows, which I understand to a point. But do you now go to a wrestling event to appreciate the athleticism and to cheer, because the guy is portraying a heel very well? Or do you go and allow the heel to get your hatred and get your boos and stuff, and and actually do what he's looking for? Because he's not looking to get cheered. We have too many shades of gray nowadays. Now, granted, during the Attitude Era, it was a little different because that's when the shades of gray came in. I'll be honest with you. I am not a Daniel Bryan fan. No matter who goes against him, I will always cheer. I have always cheered The Miz. Whether he was, heel or babyface, I always liked The Miz. And I cannot stand Daniel Bryan, whether he's a heel or a babyface. I appreciate the athleticism Daniel Bryan has, but I don't like him. I don't like his character. I never did. And I've always liked The Miz. I love him on the microphone. I love him on the, in the ring. I think he's an all-around great wrestler. But that's just who I am. That's just about it right now. All right, so enough of the rant. Enough of the ranting. This past weekend, like I said, WWE had NXT TakeOver, War Games 3, and WWE Survivor Series. It was a great showcase for NXT. In my opinion, the two MVPs that came out of that weekend are Keith Lee and Rhea Ripley. I mean, just absolutely fantastic in both nights. You had Keith Lee, part of Team Ciampa, who was victorious in the men's War Game match on Saturday against the Undisputed Era. Of course, like I said, the mystery fourth man being Kevin Owens. Just absolutely fantastic. And he's got great athleticism for a almost 400 pounder. And then Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley, she was not only part of not only the captain of Team Ripley for War Games, but she won War Games at a 4-2 disadvantage, 4-on-2 disadvantage because of what happened with Dakota Kai turning on Tegan Nox and, costing them. It didn't cost them the match, it cost them 2 spots. 2 people, and they still, Candice LeRae and Rhea Ripley came out on top and won. And then she was the sole survivor in the women's 5-on-5 Survivor Series match the next night. And Rhea Ripley is going to be the one that dethrones Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship. I could definitely tell that, and she'll be the first woman to hold both the NXT UK and NXT Women's Championship. Just absolutely fantastic, and I really think that she's going to go far. She's only 23 years old, which kind of makes me feel old, but she's got the whole package. She's beautiful the way she is. She looks different. She's not one of these cookie-cutter Barbie type of looking girls. She's athletic. She's just fantastic. And I really, really like her, and I think she's going to go places. So yeah, that's how it is. But the key, the thing that I just wanted to stress in this episode is we've got to get rid of that cancel culture, get rid of the political correctness, get rid of a lot of the different things, and it's like there's so much that's going on today in the society today. I texted one of my friends, Happy Thanksgiving on Thursday. And she replies with, Happy Stealing Land and Killing People Day. Excuse me? It's like, the first Thanksgiving were the Pilgrims and the Native Americans coming together to have a feast, to show to come together to give thanks. Not about killing, people and stealing land or anything. Granted that may have come later, but stop changing the freaking context, okay? Like Columbus Day. It's not Indigenous People Day. It's Columbus Day. Because without Christopher Columbus, there would have been no America. Now, granted, he landed on the southern tip of Florida, and I get it. He necessarily didn't find the country, and the Native Americans were already here, but did they have contact with the outside world? That's the one thing you got to understand, is that Columbus coming here made it possible for Europeans to come over to actually realize this body of land was here, and for us to make it into the United States of what it is nowadays, what it is today, our great country that we have. So many. Here's the problem that I see today. And I'm going to say this is going to be a very controversial statement, but there are so many people who are anti-white person nowadays, even if they are white, that it's ridiculous. It's like, nowadays, straight white people can do nothing right. We have a president who is a white person after a black person, okay? And he can do nothing right in the eyes of Congress and many Americans, because he's doing things that fix what Obama did and undo what Obama did. When you get people that are against Columbus and against, the European settlers that came in because they pillaged the land and they were savages against the Native Americans and this, that, the other thing. It was a culture clash, and I understand that. In the United States, yes, we took a lot of Native American land. But look at what they got look at what they got in return. They don't have to pay taxes. I mean, hell, that alone should be great. They get to keep all their money. As long as you're 1/8 Native American under one of the recognized tribes, you don't have to pay taxes. I almost wish I was part Native American, you know what I mean? But that's a perk. They get a lot of perks, and I'm sorry, I'm not, and it's not that I don't feel bad about things, but it's a necessary evolution. They're on, they're in their pride. They're what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, on their tribal land, on their reservations. You know what I mean? And they're choosing to live there instead of moving out to the rest of the country. You know what I mean? So they're not specifically being held there. They're choosing to stay there. And maybe I'm a little off because I don't know fully about the Native American history and everything, but it's difficult to fathom how the context of history has changed so much over time. But anyways, I want to thank you all for listening and downloading the Sports Wire. My name is Vinny Apsella. You can follow me on Twitter at the Apsella SWE. You could also follow SportsWire on Twitter and Instagram at SportsWire Audio. Go email us, sportswireaudio@gmail.com. And then you can get to our anchor.fm page, www.sportswireaudio.com. You can support the show, send some donations our way if you'd like. But again, I want to thank you all for listening. Thank you for everything you're doing to help the cause. And continue to support the Sports Wire. Send us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, just so that we know that you're listening and that you like it. Subscribe it, download it, wherever you find your favorite podcast. Again, my name is Vinny Apsella. We'll see you tomorrow. Today is December 1st. We're getting set for a big snowstorm tomorrow, so stay safe out there. At least on the East Coast, big snowstorm in Connecticut. Stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you tomorrow right here on the Sports Wire.